So as I mentioned, if you are part of the PSP, you can utilize the ranking system to give yourself a good sense of the directional bias in a 3 to 6 week outlook. Right now it's neutral. So there's when I pull up the chart, it should show me some pretty solid conflicting technical evidence right now, and we'll do that. And then what we'll do though is, even though it says it's neutral, it doesn't mean that I can't find an edge, right? So your process as being an analyst and then a trade planning strategist is to be able to determine if you can find an edge in the technical evidence that you're generating for yourself. The time frame that was asked was the next 2 to 4 weeks. So that's sort of on the tail end of a short-term outlook or an intermediate time frame outlook. Okay, I'm going to be looking at FXI. Okay, FXI. Question was 2 to 4 week outlook. So with FXI here, we have overlaid the EEM emerging markets cycle bracket as well, just to give some additional perspective. And then the FXI cycle bracket here is in blue. So if we use the blue FXI bracket, we can see that this current pattern structure is positive. Why do I say that? Because here's where our cycle low formed, and then here's the prior cycle peak. Here's our 78.6. We had a weekly close above that. So that's a positive indication that actually repairs the overall negative pattern structure that it had. Although this, there's been a pullback, which you have to expect. So we're into that declining phase. So this is like textbook price action that you would anticipate for a symbol, where you have a rising phase. This rising phase is very extended, and actually through the peaking phase made a right-hand translation. But even then, you would anticipate a pullback. Well, the pullback should come into the typical, at a minimum 23.6, but usually the 38.2 to 61.8 zones. And so if I just do a quick look here using the retracement tool, you can see that it came into that top end of that zone at 38.2, and it found some buyers in here. So this is all normal price action. You would also expect the reversal scout to go negative as you go into your declining phase, as you make your cycle bottom. And right now it's in that cycle low timing window. So over the next, the question was 2 to 4 weeks. So this is why it's important to know where you are in the cycle. It's within this cycle low timing window right now. So I would be looking for a low to form here, and then another leg higher, another advancement to the upside. If this was to get more aggressive on the downside, if it closed below the 61.8, that would change the outlook. Right now, it's trying to make a low, and the confirmation of a low is not here yet. There's still some time to go. If we had the reversal scout turn up, that would be a strong indication of that a low is in place. So obviously we don't even have anything close to that at the moment. So from a cycle timing window perspective, EEM is really looking to be in its rising peaking phase. So once this thing can make a cycle low, form a cycle low, as long as it doesn't get too deep into the support area, it's likely to make another attempt at this prior high and likely take it out, is what this pattern structure is suggesting. However, at the moment, we don't have our signals that are suggesting the lows in place. And now I'm going to go over to the daily and see what it's telling me. So the daily is also going through, this is an in-sync cycle. In-sync meaning that the weekly plus the daily are in sync right now with making a low. The daily is trying to form a low, and that might then trigger the weekly low, or you could see the daily low stretch out a little bit because of the weekly cycle low that's forming. Some small signs right now of a daily cycle low trying to form with the reversal scout, momentum indicator flattening out. Like to see the slim ribbon go neutral here. That would help also suggest that a cycle low is looking to form. What's going to be important is where is that low? So this is where you can, or where is the low? When does it happen? And this is where you can use, again, the PSP information. Someone asked before, I'm not, can you help sort of put it all together with with this process, and that's what I'm trying to do here. And the cycle low timing tracker is another aspect where you can help put it all together. So the cycle low timing tracker, right now you can see FXI is on the daily chart, that it's got a cycle low pending. Okay, it's pending. When it moves over to the daily confirmed, then you're going to know that that anchor's in place. And so there's a high probability, even though it is starting to move up, yes, you haven't captured that immediate low, but really at times that's not the goal, because if you're trying to time the low, there's a good chance that you can, in the old saying, the old adage, catch a falling knife, and you don't want to do that. You want to be able to make sure that the momentum is starting to turn up, even if you have to give up a little bit, or if you're going to time things, have some time frame that is suggesting to you that a low is forming. So right now, using that concept before of, let's say, 100 shares, and you're looking at like, where are we in this? With the reversal scout just turning up, in the bottom pending scenario for FXI, given the fact that this pattern structure is positive, this might be where you would look to start putting on a long side position. I would also be looking at my shorter duration time frame. So I'm going to pull those back over. And I'm going to look at FXI here, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to enter a position against momentum here. And right now, and see, this is why I'm glad I pulled this up, is because right now momentum is negative on the 2 hour. And I prefer to know that I have momentum on my side and I'm not trading against it. Maybe I start a position where you're inside of support zone and you start to see some price action that is supportive or constructive, but really you want to see momentum being on your side. So at a minimum, I would want to see the slim ribbon go positive, but really I would like to see that come with on the 2 hour, which would give me more confidence than on the 15-minute. So for FXI, overall positive pattern structure. I do want to be aware that I have negative momentum on the weekly. So that tells me that we could run into some turbulence as you get higher into the current resistance areas. So that resistance area here, you have 27.42 to 28.23 is where right now where the resistance areas are running on that short-term basis. On the downside, though, we have to pay attention that if this was to break, what was this, today's low, 625, because again, where we are within this pattern is we are in the cycle low timing window. And this is when the price action is most volatile and you can have these downside spikes occur. And when those occur, they can be, pretty intense as it's trying to set in motion its low. So as I look at FXI, and if we were to break today's low, then that's going to open up the door to some potential deeper levels. It could be still choppy overall, but we'd have to really watch if it was to get more aggressive on the downside and this was to get negative. I'm going to go take this swing here, this swing low here, this swing high here. And you can see that for me, this 25-30 area, that door could get opened if it can't find a low here in this 2640 to about 26 area is where I'd want to see this form a low, see the 2 hour turn back up, and then that would give me more confidence that this base is formed and another leg higher is likely underway. Getting back over to the cycle timing, it's got a lot of time on the upside here in the course of July to make an attempt at those higher levels. So from a 2 to 4 week perspective, this is the outlook. Overall positive right now. Near-term momentum is negative. We have risk because we're in the cycle low timing window. Like to see that low form, and then we're likely to see another leg higher to at least challenge these upper areas here, 2783 to 2881. And based on bouncing back and forth, that's what you have to do from these different time frames because of how this cycle shape finished, the probability of new highs, which could take a little longer though, because if the question was, 2 to 4 weeks, see, that's where you don't want to get caught up in looking at this projection and go, yes, that's what I'm looking for in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Because if we look at the cycle here, where, anything can happen, but where it could achieve this, it might be out, it could be 2 months. So it could be 4 to 8 weeks. It could be, 4 to 10 weeks where those, a significant upside projection is met. So it's important to know what your outlook period is, because that's also going to drive where you're looking for those projections, and you don't want to confuse an intermediate projection with a short-term outlook.